a more direct concern, and that is what we've heard about policy on strollers that went into effect in early 2022. Folks may be aware that prior to this policy, if you were boarding a PRT vehicle with a stroller, you had to get your kiddo out of the stroller, fold the stroller, and then stow the stroller. Like a lot of our policies, these things were developed not just years ago, but sometimes decades ago. And a lot of times we find that these policies are developed by the folks who weren't the ones who were going around with kids. And as a mother of children, 16 months apart, if I had had to fold a stroller and secure both my kids, I would not have been able to take transit. So what seemed like an easy fix to make it easier for parents to get out of the house had the consequence of further congesting what is already hot property at the front of the vehicle. So our buses are designed to have a priority seating area. We have stickers which say these are for folks who are using mobility devices. These are for folks who are seniors. Please vacate these areas. We do not have a law which requires people to move. So the ADA creates a requirement that we have priority areas and we can encourage folks to leave. And when we're all in our best places, folks will move if we ask them to leave the seat. But folks are not in their best places now. And what we've heard very loud and clear from our friends who use not just wheelchairs, but scooters, or just take up more space with the things they bring on the buses, it's hard enough to get a seat there. Adding an unfolded stroller is the straw that breaks the camel's back. So I want to apologize that in an agency concern that was probably too personal to me, because 2 children will drive anyone crazy, that we created a bigger issue than we needed to create one, and we did one without having engagement because it seemed, hey, we've got room, let's go there. We are reviewing our policy internally before we seek input, but we will be coming out to have some listening sessions and hear from folks, not just what you need for a wheelchair area, but what you need for that space. We had a conversation earlier this week about folded bikes. We have a no folded bikes on the bus policy, but if you can bring a suitcase, can you bring a folded bike? But then where does that folded bike go? And how do we make sure that we're meeting the intent of the law, even if we don't have the legal backing there? And the intent was to make sure that folks with the mobility devices could get anywhere they wanted to go using our network service. So again, I apologize for creating more of a conflict than there needed to be. And I look forward to working with our neighbors and our folks in a whole bunch of different areas to come up with what can be the best use of space on the bus, even if that means moving some of our seating around that we currently have. What else did I want to talk about in the Twitterverse? I'm going to keep saying Twitter because X is just too algebraic for me, and I do apologize. Amy Zeiss is right. We owe you an update on disruption management. We've spoken a couple times with our board. We had a committee update last week on what is going on with disruption management. Earlier this year, we promised an official process where you could sign up and get updates on what's going on. We are still in the soft launch and have not gone official. And we owe you a better explanation than just we haven't gotten to it or that detours take a lot of time. So here is my commitment, not just to Amy, because it's not just for one person, it's for everybody. But by the June board meeting, we will have the policies out there of how you sign up and what information you get. It might not be perfect. Some of our detours are crazy. Some of our routes have detours from 6 to 6 on one portion and then a common detour on another portion. Water mains blow up. People do things on the 4th of July. But by our meeting next month, Mr. Reeves, we're listening? Nodding, all right. And I know Jim's group is ready to go and has already been wonderful in moving all of this forward. By our June meeting, you will have the official, here's how you get the information, and we will be taking it forward from there. And our final little Twitterverse thing, it's good to be noticed by transit junkies out of New York City. So there's been a percolating story out on ridership at top 25 properties in the U.S. and what's going on in Pittsburgh. That is a great question. Don't we always ask ourselves what's going on in Pittsburgh? Looks like we have a data anomaly. Our farebox revenue is up. So when we see farebox revenue going up, but ridership is not going up, we always come back and say, hey, what's going on? So we're looking at a couple of different scenarios on reporting and tracking. And if there is an adjustment to be made, we will be coming back out. We won't be notifying everyone on Twitter, but we are not seeing the bottom falling out. We're not seeing a whole bunch of people running away from service. It's some administrative stuff we're working on. Boy, that was exhaustive. So let's go on to happy non-administrative things. This week, we joined with Allegheny County and the Department of Human Services to announce Allegheny Go, a program which offers half fares to every supplemental nutrition assistance program recipient in the county. This is a great opportunity that not only gets rid of a barrier for transportation for more than 120,000 Allegheny County residents, but also lets people access the resources and the opportunities they need, not just to be successful, but to thrive. Enrollment is super easy. Folks can go to whichever app store they use and download Ready to Ride. That is the PRT Fare Media app. Go ahead, create your account. Then they can go to AlleghenyCounty.us. Well, discountedfares.AlleghenyCounty.us. I'll repeat that slowly. So here we go. So discounted fares, all one word, .AlleghenyCounty, all one word, .us. Complete the registration, and that will get the half fare products available in their account. To start, this is only available on our mobile app, but we plan for this to be available on our next generation smart cards by early next year. And folks without bank accounts will still be able to use cash to add fund to their mobile accounts at our service centers, most Giant Eagle stores, and Goodwill. We've reprogrammed our ticket vending machines to take the cash to add, and look for a rollout. I will have to get an update from Dr. Devlin soon, adding vendors in almost everybody's neighborhood where you can go in, scan your phone, hand over cash, and then somebody without a bank account can get the same benefits as anybody who's using a stored value card. This is about more than just discounted fares. It's about dignity and equity and recognizing access to reliable transportation should be available to everybody. The capital budgets are on your agenda today for consideration. Our proposed operating budget totals $539.3 million, an increase of less than 1%, reflecting changes in inflation, rising costs and goods, also a labor shortage and norming out of pension costs. Our capital budget is $162 million, and that will fund 59 projects to support and advance transit. So continue to watch for what we are building out there. And now for the best part of the agenda, personal opinion and something a little different. I am honored to be here to recognize and celebrate the exceptional achievements of some of our finest transit operators. Yes, finest transit. Oh, now you're nodding. Okay, good. Thank you. Your dedication, skill, and commitment to safety have made a lasting impact on our community, and thank you so much. Now, some of our friends are out there driving today, so we will talk nicely about them in their absence. And that'll start with Ed Harkins, who recently retired after an incredible 30 years, what a great run, without a reportable accident. Although Ed is not here today, he's outliving his best life. Is that the expression? His remarkable record stands as a testament to his unwavering professionalism and vigilance. For 3 decades, he navigated our streets with precision and care, ensuring the safety and comfort of countless passengers. His retirement is the end of an era, but he will continue to inspire us all. Within 30 years, Ed probably drove over 2 million miles, probably pushed on to 3 million. If you start driving when you are 16, and you drive 15,000 miles a year, you'll drive until you're 91. Ed did that at least 2 times, if not 3 times, without a single accident that was his fault. And as I've said before, I didn't even get out of my learner's permit before I drove into a gas pump. So this is a really remarkable achievement, which is, again, why you don't have me driving in a self-insured organization. And now we do have in the house James Paul from West Mifflin, who has achieved an extraordinary 25 years of driving without an accident. So that's you're driving till like I'm 237, I suppose. So that is amazing. Thank you so much. And your dedication to safety and exceptional driving skills, especially in this crazy world, have earned you this recognition. Wow, consistent performance over a quarter of a century demonstrates not only his technical expertise, but his deep commitment to the well-being of our community. James, your contributions are invaluable, and we are immensely proud of your accomplishments. Can we get a round of applause for James? And now you have to come on up. Come on up. And just in time for 83-degree weather, a nice fancy jacket show. We also recognize Randy Schaefer, who is not here, has reached a milestone of 20 years without a reportable crash. Randy is not able to join us today, but the achievements again are no less significant. His attention to detail and dedication has ensured the safety of his passengers for 2 decades, and we extend our heartfelt congratulations and gratitude. And then finally, we have Mark Calusi from Rail, who's completed 20 years of driving without a reportable crash. Mark, again, your unwavering commitment to safety and exceptional skills are truly commendable. Over the past 2 decades, you've consistently demonstrated what it means to be an amazing operator. And don't think because Mark is over in Rail that it is an easy job. If you drive through Beachview, if you go through, good gravy, Willow recently, we have an excellent safety record because of folks like Mark. We have not had a fatality with Rail since 1992. It's an incredible record, and it's because Mark is always out there paying attention to all the fun things, including the fancy new Hitachi system. Don't shoot the messenger. There's a lot of constraints on you, and thank you for being safe. So come on up. Each of these folks have contributed to the safety and reliability of our system. These are quiet achievements, but they're not just personal milestones. They're also reflections of the values and standards we strive to uphold. Your dedication has helped us build the trust with our community. And, trust is a bank we can never take out, but we always have to build. So thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. And Madam Chair, if there's no questions, that concludes my remarks.
That was lovely, Catherine. Thank you. I usually don't go off script, and Jeff doesn't, but I often hear stories specifically from like experiences I've had or my family members most recently of, when there's a tough snowstorm and buses are driving on the highway or the roads and they get to the destination and they're just being a roaring applause by the passengers just for getting them safe. So the work that is done by everyone in the agencies, but the drivers are the face. You guys are out there. It's just amazing. But how many calls that I've had from people I know and relatives saying like, I didn't know how they did it. It was snow, ice, sleet, everything, and they got us there. So congratulations, and you guys just do great work. So we appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, I got a clap too. No one ever claps for me, so but I can't drive a bus. No one wants me driving either, Catherine. So we'll move on next to the report from the Performance and Oversight Committee. Samantha?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. The Performance Oversight Committee met last week, and I have 3 resolutions for the board's consideration. The committee first reviewed 1 procurement item and determined the bids to be in accordance with PRT's procurement policies and procedures and prices to be fair and reasonable. The Performance Oversight Committee recommends the multi-award contract listed in the resolution for the total amount of $736,909.88. My fellow members, I respectfully request that the board approve this resolution.
Thank you. May I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
I hear a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Next is a resolution seeking to extend and amend an agreement for the South Hills Village Parking Garage Facility Management Services. In August 2020, PRT entered into a 3-year agreement with Parkway Parking of Pennsylvania Incorporated to provide the parking facility management services for the not to exceed amount of $672,000. In June of 2023, the board authorized PRT to exercise the first 2 option years and to increase the authorized not to exceed amount to $792,000. To date, the services performed by the contractor have been satisfactory and in compliance with the agreement. The Performance Oversight Committee recommends exercising the second option year, extending the agreement for 1 additional year through July 31st, 2025, and increasing the total not to exceed amount by $125,000. My fellow members, I respectfully request that the board approve this resolution.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Hearing a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
The final resolution is to extend and amend an agreement to provide environmental consulting services. PRT entered into a 3-year agreement with the Hatch Associates Consultants Incorporated to provide these services for a total not to exceed amount of $600,000, with the option to extend the agreement up to 2 years at the sole discretion of PRT. To date, the services performed by the contractor have been satisfactory and in compliance with the agreement. The Performance Oversight Committee recommends exercising both option years at this time, extending the term of the agreement through June 30th, 2026, and increasing the total not to exceed amount by $450,000. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve? May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
That concludes my report. Thank you,
you.
Madam Chair.
Thank you very much for your report. Now we'll move on to the report of the Planning and Stakeholder Relations Committee meeting. Mr. Tech?
Good morning, Madam Chair, fellow board members and stakeholders. The Planning and Stakeholders Relations Committee met last week. I have a few items for the board. First, Director of Transit Scheduling Philip St. Pierre presented the June 2024 service changes. The service adjustments which begin June 16th include the establishment of 2 temporary bus shelters and a rail shuttle for the upcoming Red Line project closure. That work was announced in March, and these routes were built into this service change to accommodate riders affected by these closures. Adjustments also include route changes for 11 routes, running time adjustments for almost 50 routes, 2 variant changes, 3 span of service changes, and other minor adjustments to improve on-time performance. Second item, Director of Planning and Service Development, Derek Dolphin, presented the Climate Action Plan. The work on the plan began in 2023 to design a comprehensive strategy to track greenhouse gases and reduce emission consistent with the FTA guidelines following decades of energy efficiency and sustainability initiatives. The priorities of the plan are to increase ridership, reduce diesel emissions, switch to renewable electricity, reduce building electricity use, and reduce light rail electricity use, and to reduce non-revenue fleet emissions. The plan builds upon the already in progress fleet transition by hiring a new Director of Sustainability position and convening an agency-wide sustainability to lead the implementation of the plan. 3, Manager of Transit-Oriented Development, Moyer Egler, presented a resolution requesting the authorization to adopt the amended art policy. The resolution would approve PRT to amend its existing art policy, which was originally approved by the board in 2011. The original policy established a transparent and uniform procedure for artwork on PRT property, and also authorized designated PRT staff to develop, issue, and maintain guidelines for permanent and temporary artwork. The amended policy further clarifies the makeup of the art committee and provides PRT a means to seek further community input on proposed art initiatives and solutions. Madam Chair, I respectfully request approval of this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Tech. I entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The fourth item is the Chief Communication Officer, Jim Ritchie, presented disruption management update. The program, which allows riders to receive tailored real-time alerts about out-of-service routes, detours, and other events, both planned and unplanned, is in the process of being implemented. The technology includes a component of the already established vehicle tracking system and can include personalized rider account via true time with the rider set individual routes and delivery performances. Alerts will shift from the current social media procedure to PRT's true time and the third-party apps starting next month. Most disruptions are targeted to be in the system by August. Part of the implementation also includes expansion of the customer service hours, which is planned to start on July 1st. Fifth item, Allegheny County Transit Council met on May 15th. PRT's Chief Financial Officer, Dominica Brown, provided the council with an oversight of the approved FY25 operating and capital budgets. Director of Planning and Service Development, Derek Dolphin, presented the Climate Action Transit Plan. Director of Transit Scheduling, Philip St. Pierre, provided overview of the June service changes. And that their next scheduled meeting is on June 26th. And the last item is the Committee for Accessible Transportation met on May 2nd. Lisa Grisman discussed PPT's policy letter, and Holly Dick spoke about new operator training. Karen Hesh of Access provided updates on service, driver recruitment and retention, and a text to cancel service. She also discussed a former employee's doctoral dissertation focused on an older paratransit drivers using access data. PRT's Chief Innovative Officer, Jeffrey Devlin, provided the committee with an update on fares. PRT Chief Development Officer Amy Silverman presented the plans for the upcoming rail and red line projects. Director of Transit Scheduling, Philip St. Pierre, provided an overview of the bus service changes in June. And Manager of Transit Amenity, Jen Turner, discussed ADA stop announcements. Their next meeting is scheduled on July 11th. Unless there are questions, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tech. Our next report will be from the Finance Committee, Mr. O'Garrett. Sorry, but every painter in.
Good morning, Madam Chair and fellow board members. The Finance Committee met on Thursday, May 16th, and I have 3 items, including 2 resolutions to report. The first resolution is seeking authorization to enter into the 4th Amendment to the funding agreement with the Stadium Authority of the City of Pittsburgh. PRT initially entered into an agreement with the Stadium Authority in April of 2015 for annually set amounts paid to PRT by the Stadium Authority to fund free fares at the Northside Station. Following subsequent board approvals, the funding agreement has been amended and extended to date through March 31st, 2024. The proposed 4th Amendment would extend the funding agreement 1 additional year retroactive from April 1st, 2024 through March 31st, 2025 at a total funding amount of $265,000 payable in monthly installments. Due to the negative impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the Stadium Authority's ability to fund the station, certain prior amendments to the agreement permitted the suspension of the requirement of monthly payments from the Stadium Authority to PRT. The monthly payment was instead funded to PRT's budget from PRT's federal COVID stimulus funds. The effects of the pandemic continue to negatively impact the Stadium Authority's revenue from its facilities on the North Shore. The proposed 4th Amendment to the agreement provides that the Stadium Authority will not begin paying the monthly reimbursement amount until the parking capacity at its designated North Shore garages and lots reaches 85% utilization. It was noted at the meeting that PRT will continue to fund the monthly payments from federal stimulus funding. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
Thank you. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
The next resolution seeks authorization to adopt the fiscal year 2025 operating and capital budgets and to execute local match certifications. Pursuant to the Second Class County Port Authority Act, PRT is required to adopt balanced operating and capital budgets on a fiscal year basis. PRT's proposed FY 2025 operating budget totals $539,266,568. PRT's proposed fiscal year 2025 capital budget totals $161,959,003. It was reported at the meeting that both budgets balance anticipated revenues and grants with anticipated expenses. This resolution also authorizes PRT to submit operating and capital assistance local match assurances required by the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation in the forms attached to the resolution as Exhibits C and D. A final note on this item: at last week's Finance Committee meeting, the total operating budget was incorrectly reported to be $535,359,584. But as I just mentioned, the actual total is $539,266,568. The budget amount has been corrected within the body of the resolution. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
Thank you. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
And I'll take that as a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And I would like to thank the staff for their very hard work. Again, please apologize for interrupting the report, but I think that was important. So thank you. Please continue.
Thank you. Finally, the following is a review of the April financial results presented at last week's meeting. It was reported that total operating income for the month of April was under budget by $500,000 due to lower passenger revenue. Total expenses for the month of April were below budget by $800,000 due to lower wages and benefits and purchase services expense. Total operating income is $7.2 million higher than last fiscal year through April due to higher passenger revenue, access, and interest income. Total expenses through April are $17.5 million higher than last fiscal year due to higher expenses in every category. Total subsidy is $61.5 million higher than last fiscal year due to higher invoicing of federal stimulus and preventive maintenance. As of April 2024, the total remaining federal stimulus balance is $39 million of CRRSA funds. Finally, it was reported that PRT ended the month of April with approximately $385.5 million in cash reserves. Unless there are any questions or comments, that concludes my report.
Thank you. The next report is from Technology Committee, which is my committee, so I'll begin. First item of business we have the first resolution. These are both from the May 16th meeting. And again, there are two resolutions. The first is under the awarding of the bids portion of the meeting. There was technical support services from Oracle PeopleSoft licenses that support critical PRT finance and human resource functions. The recommendation was made to award this contract under the terms and conditions of the Pennsylvania Education Purchasing and Microcomputers PEPPM Cooperative Purchasing Agreement to Mythix LLC as an authorized reseller of Oracle American products and support services in the estimated amount of $4,948,441.84 for a term of 5 years. The committee concluded that these licenses are needed and that the prices are fair and reasonable. With that, I respectfully request the board vote in favor of this resolution and authorize the awarding of this bid. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. The next item in my final resolution for the day was presented for an extension of 2 existing agreements with Scheidt & Bachmann USA for fare system services. These include both the farebox warranty and the non-farebox equipment and software maintenance service agreements. Both agreements are being recommended for 1-year extensions and amendments for increasing the total not to exceed amount of $6,478,700 and $1,978,034 respectively. The committee concluded these services to be essential and the prices to be fair and reasonable. With that, I respectfully recommend that the board vote to approve this resolution for these amendments. With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So
Have a
moved.
second? That's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. That concludes my report for the day, and I want to thank the staff for again adding those 84 cents and odd numbers to all of my numbers I have to read. The next item is new business, and I do not believe we have any, correct? So with that, next we're going to go on to public comment, and I will apologize if I mispronounce anyone's name. There's no intent for that, and please feel free to correct me so I don't do that again in the future. The first public comment is for Mr. Andrew Hussein. Is Andrew on the line? I don't see Andrew in the room. Andrew Hussein? Andrew Hussein for public comment? I'll try one more time. Andrew, are you on the line? Okay, so we'll skip past Andrew. Next is Amy Zeiss. I see Amy.
Good try. It's actually Zace.
Oh,
That's okay.
that's good though, right?
Yeah.
I apologize, Amy Zeiss. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for your time today. My name's Amy Zace. I'm a resident of Beachview. I had prepared some comments, but actually a lot of them were about my frustrations with not having the disruption management services yet. So I'm very pleased to hear an update that that's coming. I'm very much looking forward to it. And thank you so much for finally expanding customer service. For an example, the marathon weekend on Saturday morning at 7 a.m. Well, actually, I was out before 7 a.m. trying to catch a tea, and I got a ghost tea. It just never came. And customer service doesn't open until 8 a.m. Funny enough, I was actually on my way to go do a talk about transit advocacy for Pittsburghers for public transit with people who'd flown in from all over the country. So kind of frustrating. Later that day, I met up with family and friends who were in town. And let me tell you, the communication around the marathon delays were not good. Really, really not good. I was on the T when a train full of people were surprised to hear that the bus replacement shuttle between Penn and Gateway wasn't operating, because that fact was only listed on the train detour page. It wasn't listed anywhere in the marathon page. You had a whole page dedicated to marathon detours that did not mention that that bus shuttle wasn't going to be running. So like, you really do need to get your house in order in terms of communication, in my point of view. Anyways, I was also just going to mention, I feel always compelled to mention that I think it's a big privilege to come here. This isn't an easy time for most people who work. I have a very flexible schedule. That's why I come here. And I also consider it a privilege because I think it's important that you listen to people like me. I don't come here because I want to complain. I don't come here because I like to hear myself speak. I come here because I care a lot about Pittsburgh and I care about the public transit in our area. And frankly, like I was saying, the marathon weekend, I had friends, family staying in a hotel downtown. And I was like, take the bus, take the bus. We're just going to Lawrenceville. No, they drove because they couldn't figure out the detours. Like, it's frankly, it's embarrassing to be a transit advocate in this city. And I love it so much living here. And when it's good, it's so good, man. But, you know, I tell people, like, take the bus, and they're like, how do you do it? Well, you know, I keep the PDF schedule on my phone. I check True Time first. I also reference the transit app. Sometimes I'm left by a ghost train, but, you know, I do it. Anyways, the other thing I wanted to touch on briefly, I know I'm timed here, is the upcoming red line schedule. We were promised a schedule, but frankly, I don't see how a start and end time point can be considered a schedule. I live in Beachview. I also just realized that, like, the southbound, like if I want to go to Mount Lebanon, I'm going to have to take a bus shuttle down to Potomac, then walk like 3 or 4 blocks across Potomac, which is at least 0.2 miles, and then get another bus. Anyways, it's not going to be good. I'm not looking forward to it. If it's free. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. The next speaker is Deja Baker. Thank you.
Give it.
can give them and pass. We can pass them down if you want. That's easier.
I mean, I'm already on my way.
Here's there. Thank you very
That's okay. Okay, that's okay.
Yeah, thank you. Read off yours.
much.
Thank you.
It's Deja Baker. Thank you. My name is Deja Baker, and I am a digital organizer at Pittsburghers for Public Transit, otherwise known as PPT. We're a grassroots union of transit riders and workers who organize for a more accessible transit system. As a PPT staffer and a disabled person with an invisible disability, I am proud of the work I do with our member-led Accessibility Committee. Our Accessibility Committee focuses on practices and policies to make our transit system more accessible, especially for people with disabilities. Recently, many members have raised concerns about PRT's new stroller policy. We at PPT commend the agency for taking steps to make transit more accessible for families who use strollers. However, many of our members are concerned that the new policy limits the priority space for buses for disabled riders and their mobility devices, in addition to making transit more unsafe and inaccessible for them. I would like to read the following letter from PPT's Accessibility Committee, signed by Pittsburghers for Public Transit, Committee for Accessible Transportation, and Access Mob. We know that by working together with PRT and Pittsburgh's disabled community, we can build a stroller policy and a transit system that are accessible for all. I timed myself, so I'm well aware that this will be over 3 minutes. Just stop me when it's at 3. In the second half of 2023, PRT adopted a new stroller policy allowing open strollers on buses. Unlike other large transit agencies such as MTA and SEPTA, who have recently revised their stroller policies, PRT did not obtain community feedback prior to this change and did not issue the new policy in conjunction with changes to bus designs to accommodate strollers outside of the accessible seating area. As a result, the change was made suddenly and without the engagement that would have alerted PRT to the issues now being seen throughout the bus system. Since the new policy was announced, people who use wheelchairs and scooters have been denied access to buses as a result of open strollers parked in the accessible seating areas. Drivers have passed them at bus stops when open strollers are already present in the accessible seating area, and riders with strollers have refused to move from accessible seats when requested by drivers. People with disabilities are already negatively impacted by PRT's infrequent service and now must contend with additional lack of access to buses despite their rights under the American with Disabilities Act or the ADA. Further, the new stroller policy has not been implemented safely for children in strollers as well as other passengers. Open strollers are not consistently secured to prevent rolling while the bus is moving. Children are not always appropriately strapped into the stroller. People with disabilities attempting to use access seating often have difficulty maneuvering around a stroller in order to sit or safely park their wheelchair or scooter. Pittsburghers for Public Transit, along with the undersigned organizations and community members, is deeply concerned about the development and implementation of this new policy. PRT failed to consult with people with disabilities, including the Committee for Accessible Transportation and the City County Task Force on Disabilities, before making this change. The new policy has resulted in increased barriers for people who use wheelchairs and scooters, and we are troubled by implementation that appears to not comply with the ADA. I have 2 more sentences. It has also not been applied in a way that keeps riders, especially young children, safe. We are concerned that the failure to ensure both strollers and children are secure will result in harm to some of PRT's most vulnerable riders. And the next speaker will continue the letter.
Next speaker is Alicia Grishman. I know, like, listen, I'm gonna give maybe a 5% accuracy. I'll admit to that.
My own mother has called me Alyssa 3 times now, so if my own mother cannot get my name right, I just give up. Am I allowed to move this closer?
Sure, thank you
Okay.
and welcome.
Hello. To finish the letter, in light of the above, PRT must take the following steps Consistently enforce accessible seating priority being given to people with disabilities as required under the ADA and also for seniors. Provide training to drivers on the riders prioritized for use of the accessible seating area and how to navigate conflict over these seats. Create designated stroller areas on buses that allow for open strollers to safely be stored on the bus in an area separate from the accessible seating. Require any open stroller to have its brakes engaged and be physically held by the individual controlling it. And finally, obtain community input on the final version of the stroller policy that supports parents and children without denying people with disabilities access to the only seating area available on the bus for their use on the bus. You guys all have a picture that was handed out. It is a selfie with me, and I just, picture's worth 1,000 words. This whole incident delayed the bus 10 minutes. So, talking about bus delays and things like this. What you see here is me in my wheelchair, another gentleman in a wheelchair, and an unattended stroller with an infant in it. To get me on the bus, originally there was a father holding the stroller in what turned out to be my seating area, and then the other guy in the wheelchair. For me to get onto the bus, the father with the stroller had to pull the stroller back. I got on facing backwards. The other guy in the wheelchair pulled to the front of the bus so that I could turn around and back in. Then that guy in the wheelchair backed into his space. And then the father with the stroller tucked his stroller behind the guy in the wheelchair and left it, not even to sit in the seat immediately next to it where he could reach out and grab, but sat several seats back, leaving his infant unattended. And the driver was okay with this. Every time someone else got on the bus and needed to get past the stroller, the guy in the wheelchair, not the father, but the guy in the wheelchair, had to push the stroller forward. I was on the bus like 2 months ago when a college student stepped out in front of the bus. My bus had to quickly swerve out of the way and hit the brakes so hard that I went flying out of my wheelchair. Imagine that infant now in this situation that's been condoned by PRT, that's being allowed by the driver. And you want a lawsuit. Imagine this baby going flying, and you think that this policy is a good idea. It's one thing to hear the open letter and go, oh, la da da, what's going to happen. This is what happens. I was almost late today because the guy with the stroller got on my bus and there was no room for people to get past. So there was a whole pile up of people at the front of the bus standing there who all had to get off the bus so that I could get off the bus, and then they got on again. This is causing delays. This is unsafe. People do not hold on to their strollers. Some little kid is going to get killed. And I'm not exaggerating. I was terrified watching this little baby. So.
Brian Hatgalikis, I know I messed that up.
Not quite.
Brian Hatgalikis,
Their discussion.
is he?
He's virtual.
Brian, are you virtual? Are you on? Maybe someone could, do you guys have his number, text him? I can move on to Karen until he's able, that way. This spot. Brian?
He's on.
Brian, are you on?
He's on.
Brian, did you turn on your mic? We'll move on. Brian, we'll still get an opportunity, just so maybe he's having technical issues. Karen Warman? Hi, Karen.
Okay, I unmuted myself.
Oh, it's okay. Hey, why don't you just, so Brian, you can go, and Karen, do you mind? You can sit there and then you can go next. Is that okay?
Okay, okay.
Okay, go.
Do you hear me, guys?
Yes, so Brian, you're up, okay? Thank
Okay,
you.
my name is Brian Hatchilakis. I'm a member of PRT, and what gets me upset is the high fee of service that goes on around Pittsburgh, and also some of the waits that we have for routes and all that. In my opinion, I think that when there's service changes and route changes, PRT should be transparent with people. And if there's cancellations, you should be transparent also and have the app mirror stuff, because it's not always that way. Thank you. And that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you, Brian.
Share cut started. Pinned and start.
Can somebody unmute me?
Recording started. Pinned and participate myself video at leaving menus. Meeting controls toolbar. Calling can share started. Pinned and participate myself video.
Hello?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Brian. We're going to go on to Karen Warman. Go ahead, Karen, whenever you're ready.
Okay, yeah, my name's, well, actually, now it's Karen Smith. It's not Karen Woman anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, I know there's quite a numerous, things that's been going on in, PRT. And I know, like, delays and, you know, and, like other, like, things that should be actually looked at. Like I noticed that time frames on like different like lateness and you know, and also things that should be looked at. I don't know. I'm just doing this off the cuff. I'm sorry. But like, you know, yeah, like things that people have been saying. I mean, you know, things that should be looked at as far as productivity and things that like lateness and time frames, you know, like things are, you know, like the things that I mean, I noticed that the time is not, had not been the scheduling had not been, you know, those.
You wrote to me if you want to read it.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. What would you do if the bus you need to get to an appointment had one wheelchair space left and had something in it that can be moved towards the back of the bus? So what can be done? Obviously, at this time, nothing is being done except the person has to wait for the next bus, therefore making them late for whatever they have to be at. We need to think about the safety of all the riders, no matter what the age is. There needs to be enough space for everyone to be able to ride at any given time. I once was asked if I could take the next bus because there was a stroller and a dog. Nobody should be deprived of riding the bus because of space. Yeah. Yeah, there's other words, nobody should have to, no matter what their disability, no matter what their criteria, if they need to be on that bus, if they need to be at a certain time, they need to catch another bus. If there's a bus they need to get and they need to catch a connecting bus, and the bus they're on will get them to that connecting bus. They shouldn't be deprived of that bus.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you. Our next speaker will be Joy Dorr. Joe? Joy? Huh?
She's online.
Joy, are you online? You're up next. You see her? Joy, am I saying the last name right? Dorr? Yes. Joy, is that you?
Yes.
We're trying to unmute.
Okay, just give us a second, Joy. We're trying to unmute you, okay? You there? Joy, are you ready?
Like you guys can't unmute her, so she needs to ask her to try to. She needs to unmute herself, they're telling me.
Joy, can you unmute yourself? So while we're trying to work on Joy, let's move on to the next speaker. And then once Joy becomes available, we'll put her in line so she can speak. I'll give you one more. Joy, are you there, or should we go on and then let you get online in a moment? While I'm asking a question, I don't think she can respond yet. But that's okay. So let's move on to Tavon Smith. Okay, Tavon, thank you. What about Kaylin Luciano? Okay. So who can get on first, Joy or Kaylin?
Hi, it's Callan. Can you hear me?
Callan. Oh, no, sorry, Callan.
No,
So
no
we're
worries,
gonna
everyone.
we're gonna take you before Joy. So she's having a little technical issue. So it's your time to speak. So please, floor is yours.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Callan Luciano. I'm a resident in the Friendship neighborhood. I kind of have a scattering of thoughts related to a couple different things. So feel free to cut me off as needed. First off, as a member of Pittsburghers for Public Transit, I'd like to uplift the letter given by PPT earlier on in the public comments. I'm really disappointed to hear about the lack of community engagement on the new stroller policy and the harm it's caused to the disabled community, especially considering how infrequent bus routes are now already. To think that people are being denied service and having to wait until the next bus, that's really disappointing. I do thank the board and Catherine for revisiting the stroller policy and seeking community engagement, but I think this is just proof of the importance of engaging with transit riders before putting policies like this in place. Second, I am really excited about the rollout of the half fares program for low-income folks, and I hope this can be a first step toward free fares for low-income folks in the future. And last little short bit, the marathon weekend service disruptions that Amy talked about earlier, I also experienced, and just want to kind of uplift what she was saying about sharing service disruption management more broadly and more clearly, because that was really disappointing. We also had friends in that weekend, and it was really hard to get around since we rely solely on public transit here. But I want to focus mostly on service cuts. As a young college grad who recently moved to the area and doesn't own a car, I completely rely on public transit to get to my basic necessities and connect with my family and friends. And I'm deeply disappointed and concerned about the ongoing service cuts that I've seen in the last year since I moved here and before then. And I heard that there's another round of service cuts coming up. And this is really disappointing to hear, and negatively impacts folks like me who rely on the system to access their basic necessities. As a young person, I'm really discouraged to see, public transit continue to get cuts, especially when we know that this is one way that we can address the climate crisis and reduce emissions locally by investing heavily in public transit. I know that there's reasonings like staffing shortages, but I think we need to find a better way to expand transit and support staffing rather than cutting. We need to match service. We shouldn't match service to meet the funding. We should expand funding to meet the service needs of our community. Otherwise, we'll continue to see a death spiral where less people can rely on patchy service, leading to less riders and more cuts to service. So that's all. Just really hoping that we can explore options to expand transit in the future rather than cutting it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have Joy?
She's still muted and RIT cannot unmute her, yes. Ask her to *6, because she's on the phone, it seems like, so maybe that's how she would do it.
So Joy, could you possibly try pressing on your phone star and then the number 6? That may help unmute you. Guess that didn't work. Give another moment. Maybe possibly we could automatically put Joy on as first speaker next time as a courtesy. And then we can communicate with her and try to figure out a way to make sure that if she needs to be online, that we can try to make sure we help her get on first. And then is that okay, Catherine? If we do that next time, we'll get her on first. I apologize for the technical difficulties, Joy, on behalf of the board. We do really want to hear your comments. We will make sure the staff reaches out to you and tries to coordinate a way to assist you in being able to communicate with us via online if that's your preference. So I apologize. So with that, no objections to the board in doing that from the board? No? Okay. Again, I apologize, Joy, but the staff will be reaching out to you today to try to coordinate, and we'll get you on, if no one objects, as the first speaker at the next meeting. Okay. With that, I don't believe there's any other business to come before the board today. Our next regular meeting is Friday, June 28th. So with that, we stand adjourned for the day, and thank you everyone for your participation.